We have the conversation with Sammy Gyamfi, currently the Managing Director or MD for the Gold Board. And, well, we're here to take stock from what transpired yesterday. We know that the budget statement is out, the full version in itself, apart from the highlight that was before Parliament by Dr. Kesia Latoforsen. But there are some thematic areas that still would need to have a lot of introspection on. And that's why Sami is here. Of course, towards the latter part, we can talk about the Gold Board thereof and what the objectives are and things. But I say good morning to you and thank you for joining us as well.
Good morning, Roland.
You also hold your position as the communication officer of the party, right?
Yes.
Yes. How is that, juggling between those two positions that you hold now?
Well, thank you very much for the opportunity. A very good morning to our cherished viewers across the globe. I am very used to multitasking. I've done that for the greater part of my outdoor life. So, yes, it's difficult combining this new role with my role as a National Communications Officer, but I have able deputies in the person of Akogan. Malik is a bit busy now because he's also heading a very important agency, the Youth Employment Agency, but Comrade Akogan has stepped into my shoes, and I provide a direction, and he is always available to implement the decisions we take as a team. And we also have a very good rapport with the current Minister for Government Communications, my very good brother, Felix Ofosukwachi. So we're seeing a very good collaboration between party communications and government communications. And that is how we've been managing so far, yeah. Okay.
The government of John Mahama and then Nana Jeno Pokwajman is transitioning from a government that left us with a huge debt stock for which we had to restructure, and it became a point for communication for the party during the campaign. Now, this first budget, how do you think that aligns with what the promises were and what will be done now within this budgetary year?
Roland, I have seen ministers of finance go to Parliament every year to present budgets on behalf of the president. In my short adult life, I've seen several budget statements being presented to Parliament. But the truth is one, I have never seen a budget respond to the needs and aspirations of the people. A budget respect the social contract between the government and the people. A budget resonates with the needs and the expectations of the people of Ghana, like the 2025 budget statement, the maiden budget of the NDC Mahama government has done. Look, this is the best budget I have ever seen by far. No wonder it has resonated with the good people of Ghana. Those in the lower, middle, upper class are all excited. It has inspired a great deal of hope in Ghanaians. People have realized that indeed the political class can be trusted. Indeed, they can continue to believe in the Ghana project. They can continue to believe in hope again. I made this point somewhere yesterday, that in the last 8 years under the Akufo-Addo Bawumia MPP government, one commodity that was very scarce was the commodity of trust in public leadership and hope. People lost hope in the political class. We saw unprecedented disillusionment in our young people. People gave up on Ghana. People ridiculed the political class. People lost interest in politics and elections. And I think that partly accounted for the low turnout we witnessed in the 2024 election. Because there were some who erroneously thought that all politicians are the same. They lie their way into office for power, only to flatter to deceive on their promises. Politicians don't respect their social contract with the people. But yesterday, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama demonstrated that all politicians are not the same, and that there are still men of integrity in politics. And that today, you see, it matters when you know that you have a leader you can trust. You have a leader who has regard for you, who respects you, who cares about you, and who will keep his word. I think, for me, beyond the specific policies and measures contained in the budget that was presented to Parliament and by extension the nation yesterday, to me, that was the crux of the issue. Abain Papa Aba, hope is back. We now have leadership that we can trust, and that makes a lot of difference.
Mr. Gyamfi, the former finance minister, the just immediate past finance minister, Dr. Amin Adam, describes the budget as a Sakawa budget, contrary to what you say. Yes,
really?
That's what he said.
Sakawa budget?
Yes, that's the description. What's your response to that?
Well, I wonder what his understanding of the word Sakawa is. Look, don't take these guys serious. They are completely dumbfounded by the details of this budget. They have been totally silenced. You see, but they just have to put up some theatrics to ginger their party base. Yesterday, I was sitting in the gallery. I saw some of their MPs. I saw the look on their faces. It was like, oh, no, your party in the big. Stephen Amoa stepped out even before Ato Forson concluded the delivery of the statement. And he didn't come back into the chamber. They could not believe that the NDC could introduce these far-reaching policies and fulfill 99.99, almost 100% of the promises contained in our 120-day social contract, including promises that we did not even make. So when the former finance minister tells you that this is a Sakawa budget, look, he's engaging in theatrics. This is drama, cantata. He can't justify it. Is this Sakawa to promise to scrap the draconian 10% withholding tax on lottery winnings and actually fulfill that promise? That today, young people who have resorted to betting as a refuge because they don't have jobs can have some respite. Before they win one bet, they would have lost 10 or 20. Then they manage to win some 5,000 Ghana cedis. And then Bawumia comes and says, I'm taking 500 Ghana. They win 10,000 Ghana cedis, and Bawumia and Akufo-Addo come and say, we are taking 1,000 Ghana, 10 million. Today, John Mahama is saying that we are scrapping that tax. The bill for the repeal of that law will be laid in Parliament today. And we expect Parliament to expedite the processes towards its passage so that latest by the end of this week, every young person who wins the bet retains 100% of that money. Do you know the relief that will provide young people? We are not encouraging anybody to go and dabble in betting. But the point is that when these guys don't have work, they don't have jobs.
At the height of the campaign.
And so you cannot expect them to go and steal. So if they succeed, bet is a game of chance. They succeed in winning something small from bets after losing so much, it is totally unacceptable for the government to say that, give me 10% of that. Now that would be
and no doubt,
of the past.
And no
How
doubt,
is that Sakawa?
And no doubt, at the height of the campaign, the removal of the betting tax was a campaign theme for both parties.
Yeah.
Now, if you, as a response, hear the former finance minister say that they never started implementation or even collection of the proceeds thereof, what will be your reaction, Sammy?
Of course, those are the words of a liar. Those are the words of a liar. Either he set out to lie to the people of this country, or he was simply not on top of his work as finance minister. TV3, you forget about Sammy Gyamfi and what the NDC has to say on this matter. TV3 has fact-checked that claim. True of us. True of us. You fact-checked it. I've seen your flyers.
We have.
You put out your verdict. What is your verdict? As far back as October 2023, the GRA commenced the collection of that tax. And I have checked with the finance ministry. Before this budget, GRA had collected about 80 million cedis in, you know, this 10% withholding.
Of the
it's
whole
not the
lottery.
component, it is one tax. It is called 10% withholding tax on winnings from lottery. Now that tax applies to sports betting. It also applies to national lottery, private lottery and all that. They should say that, okay, they started implementing it on sports betting, but they did not commence the implementation on national and private, you know, lotteries. Say that, and that will be correct. But don't say that you never collected the tax. So if you did not collect the tax, why was Bawumia promising to scrap the tax? When he was dancing off beat, you saw those videos. And when Dennis Miracles Abuaje was holding placards, we will scrap betting tax. What were they talking about? So the tax was not enforced. It was not being implemented. So what were they promising to scrap? You see, yes, they have been exposed. There is a video of Mr. Edward Jamra, who is the commissioner for the domestic tax division of the Ghana Revenue Authority. It is captured on video. The man is saying we started collecting these taxes in October of 2023. We got only 50 million. So we are going to put measures in place to ramp up the collections. John Mahama has scrapped it. Not just that. E-levy. A poor person goes to work, maybe some liberal work, or somebody works even in the formal sector, they earn salary. If they are paid that money through Momo, government deducts 1%. If you collect that money and you want to send some to your mother in the village to buy medicine, they deduct 1%. You send some to your sister for upkeep, they deduct 1%. You send some to your friend, they deduct 1%. Government keeps deducting 1% from your money anytime you decide to do an electronic transfer, whether it's a mobile transaction or any form of electronic transfer. And the MPP actually organized town hall meetings. Let's not forget it. Town hall meetings. Kojo Opon Kroma and Ken Oforiatta held town hall meetings across Ghana, justifying this atutubotom tax. Today,
why do you call it atutubotom tax?
The e-levy that they said we cannot do without. Bawumia was the one who sat in the studios of Peace FM in 2016 August, 2020 August, and said Momo is for the poor, it should not be taxed. I mean, every student of economics will tell you that double or multiple taxation is frowned upon by all principles of taxation. Because one money paid to me by my employer, anytime I transfer the money, you are deducting a tax. Why? On the same amount of money. Why? It was clearly unacceptable. Today, that market woman can send money to her children, can send money to her suppliers or Momo without having to pay e-levy. The Momo industry that is dying will now be revived. Because today, that tax, which was discouraging a lot of people to use these platforms, has been scrapped. It is not only e-levy. No, hold on. So if this is what Amin Anta is calling Sakawa, then we like this kind of Sakawa. To promise to scrap e-levy and then you scrap it. To promise to scrap the betting levy and then you scrap it. And then the Ngusietuo. You see, these guys were so insensitive.
Which one is the Ngusietuo?
Emissions tax. A tax imposed on emissions, simply put smoke.
But Sammy Gyamfi, it was never implemented.
Who told you that? All, users of vehicles that emit, these gases, motors, Okada, vehicles, from 2024 were asked to pay 100 cedis to 200 Ghana cedis. Anytime they went to renew their insurance and things like that, ideally, they were charged. And we see it too.
There was
if we had not voted,
as far as we know.
Look, no, it was not an intention, it was implemented. If we had not voted them out, these guys would have come to our houses. Those who still cook with coal pots, I'm sure they would have levied us emissions tax to pay taxes on the smoke.
But Sammy Gyamfi, that's too far-reaching.
The principle was to tax emissions. Smoke, musie. That was the principle. Even Emperor Vespasian, who is considered the most wicked, one of the most wicked emperors of the Roman Empire, all he did was to impose a tax on urine. These guys have moved beyond urine. They have imposed a tax on emissions. Today, nobody has to worry about that because John Mahama has scrapped it. He promised to do that and he has kept his word. Now, do you know that John Mahama did not promise to scrap the 1.5% tax on Dory gold? Dory gold is unprocessed gold. When small-scale miners mine their gold, they were required to pay a withholding tax of 1.5%. It used to be 3%. And that led to unprecedented smuggling. In the year 2021, Ghana had only 3.4 tons of gold because of this tax. And so that compelled government to reduce it from 3% to 1.5%. It was still encouraging smuggling. And it was also not a fair tax because the Bank of Ghana buys gold from the market. It doesn't pay 1.5% withholding tax. PMMC buys gold from the market. We don't pay 1.5% withholding tax. MEF buys gold from the market. They don't pay 1.5% withholding tax. But when the ordinary gold trader is going to buy from the miner, he must pay. John Mahama says, no. Let's remove this incentive for smuggling, this unfair tax. It has been scrapped. It was not even in our manifesto. We have done that. Again, do you know that the MPP introduced VAT on motor vehicle insurance? Anytime you went to do an insurance for your car, for your motor, whether it is Uber or a private car or a Boboya or Sprinter or whatever, you were supposed to pay VAT.
But I mean, the argument was that we needed revenue.
Oh, so today there we don't need revenue. Every government needs taxes to develop. But in a time of excruciating hardships, you need to adopt a progressive tax model where you impose more taxes on the rich and you impose less on the suffering masses. If you say you are imposing VAT on motor vehicle insurance, then you are telling people not to even go and buy insurance for their motor vehicles because it directly impacts the truck driver, the Uber driver, the owner of these vehicles. But we have scrapped that. Does that mean we will not introduce taxes? No, we are introducing a tax. There is a tax that the MPP introduced called Growth and Sustainability Levy of 1%. We have increased it to 3%. Why? Because that tax is paid by large-scale mining companies. And at the time that tax of 1% was introduced, the price of gold on the international market averagely was just about $2,000 per ounce. As we speak, it has crossed $2,800, $2,900 per ounce. So we need to get more from that windfall relative to the international market price of gold. So government says pay more. Instead of 1%, pay 3%. It doesn't affect the ordinary Ghanaian.
Now,
so this is the innovativeness that has been lacking in the last 8 years.
You said that is,
but that has come to the
because
fore
of also stakeholder
as a result of the visionary leadership of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama.
How then do you respond to a criticism, especially coming from the MPP and the opposition, that the finance minister going around the market soliciting views was just for populist gains? When, for example, there had been the campaign that we will have training colleges, whether it's for nurses or for teachers, etc., not being given allowances. Rather, they will be receiving student loans from the trust. But now we have allocations being made for them.
Who promised that? Who said that we're going to give teacher and nursing trainees student loans? Who said that? That was the position in 2016, 8 years ago, when we decided to replace the allowances with student loans.
What's the position now?
No, hold on. Let's go step by step so that people understand. But we said that colleges of education had been made tertiary institutions. And so for consistency and uniformity, they should also take student loans just like their counterparts in the universities. You understand? Because somebody is in the college of education learning to be a teacher, and he is given an allowance. Another person is at Winneba also studying to become a teacher, and he is given a loan. So we wanted that uniformity. Even when we decided to do that, we later changed it for the nursing trainees because we realized that the nursing trainees did not qualify to benefit from student loans. So later on, we decided to pay them in 2016 an abated allowance in 2016. We never canceled it. Now, in 2020, we said that because of, in the manifesto, go and check, both 2020 and 2024, because of the huge financial gap the Student Loan Trust Fund faces, it is no longer feasible to enroll nursing trainees and teacher trainees onto the Student Loan Trust Fund.
So the,
because
so,
MPP for Guno,
so the
they have collapsed Student Loan
training
Trust Fund.
colleges, whether it's for nurses or for teachers, etc., will not be enrolled or will not be accessing student loan as a replacement.
No, because student loan today is in tatters. The Student Loan Trust Fund is in tatters. There is a huge financial gap of more than 50 million Ghana cedis. Google it, you see it. So even those on it, they can't have enough money to pay them. How then do you add more? So in the interim, we must continue the payment of the allowances. And the Ministry of Finance has a plan to add these teacher and nursing trainees to the compensation budget of government and pay the allowances like we pay salaries every month so that there are no delays. That is why he has provisioned for them 203 million for teacher trainees and 480 million Ghana cedis for nursing trainees. Problem solved. How difficult is this? Why don't they understand this? Look, you see, to appreciate what John Mahama has done in this budget, you must understand and appreciate the difficult times we find ourselves in. But for how visionary John Mahama is and the empathy he has for the Ghanaian people, what he has done would have been impossible. No government can do what John Mahama has done. It is because of the precarious situation we find ourselves in. We inherited an economy in complete tatters, hard hit by debt. At the time we were leaving office in 2016, Roland, the total public debt of Ghana stood at 120 billion cedis. When we inherited power again 8 years after from Akufo-Addo, do you know the public debt, the state of the public debt today? 726 billion. From 120 billion to 726 billion. This is even after the draconian debt exchange program, which has deprived over 1.3 million Ghanaians of their hard-earned investments and coupons to the tune of 240 million. We still owe 726 billion. This year alone, the NDC Mahama government is called upon to pay 26 billion to domestic creditors. Domestically, Ghana for 26 billion. In February, we paid almost 10 billion. We've paid that already. In July, John Mahama and Ato Forsen will have to pay another 6.2 billion this year. In August, we have to pay another 10 billion. In total, 26.2 billion this year alone. Next year, 2027, we have to pay 57 billion Ghana cedis in domestic debt servicing. 2028, we have to pay 52 billion. This is just domestic debt too. The external debts. In the next 4 years, we have to pay $8.7 billion. Next year, 2027 alone, out of that 8.7 billion, we have to pay $2.5 billion. Look, the entire IMF bailout is $3 billion. And this is money being disbursed to us over a 3-year period. But we have to pay $2.5 billion next year alone and $2.4 billion in 2028. Aside, so in the next 4 years, domestic debt servicing alone, 150 billion cedis. Yet, these guys left almost nothing in the sinking fund. When we were leaving office in 2016, we left 430 million cedis in the sinking fund for the repayment of debt. 430 million. You know how much they left us? 140 million cedis. We left $390 million in the sinking fund. They left $64,000. Roland. But apart from the debts, these guys have signed contracts. We call it government commitments. Contracts that they have signed that if the contractors render the services we need to pay for. So we call them commitments. To the tune of 194 billion cedis. The road sector alone constituting 105 billion. Look, from Nkrumah to John Mahama, our debt was 120 billion. Yet in 1 year, these guys have signed contracts to the tune of 194 billion.
The argument will be that the economy is expanding and then the infrastructure is needed.
The economy is expanding well.
That should be a very plausible question.
You can't pay your debts. This is debt too. I've spoken about the debt alone, that we have had to do debt restructuring. This year we are paying 26 billion, next year 57 billion, the following year 52 billion. Debts. Aside that, you have gone to commit the government to contracts that you didn't follow in some cases, you didn't follow the Public Financial Management Act. There were no commencement certificates, no budgetary provision. These contracts were not even in their own budget. They were awarding contracts like there is no tomorrow. Go and check ECG, what they have done. These guys were so wicked. They have ordered containers, bought things that ECG will not need in the next 10 years. ECG will not need in the next 10 years. Yet the expiry date for some of those things, 5 years. Sign contracts to the tune of 194 billion. Commitment alone. That is different from arrears. The commitment has to do with the contractual obligations we have, that if performed, we have to pay. The arrears are contracts that have already been rendered, and IPPs, interim payment certificates, IPCs, have been generated. So government has to pay. That is what we call arrears. That one is not even part of your debt. That one to 67.5 billion. Cedis, 67.5 billion. That figure of 67.5 billion does not include, listen to me carefully, the 32 billion owed by Cocoa Board. It doesn't include the 68 billion owed by ECG. It doesn't include the 5.7 billion owed by Road Fund. Cocoa Board alone, apart from bequeathing to us a debt of 32 billion cedis. Roland, are you listening to me? These guys went and securitized 330,000 tons of cocoa. For money. They took the money and chopped. They didn't supply the cocoa to the people they took the money from. So now Mahama has to go and get that 330,000 tons of cocoa and go and supply it.
But Mr. Gyamfi,
and because of that, hold on.
It will mean that you need to undertake investigations to ascertain why.
It's a fact. It's not in dispute.
Okay.
300.
Yes, may not be in dispute. It also means that processes would have to be undertaken to make sure that, well, if it's money taken, then at the end of the day, you go,
issues with
nobody
grammar.
obfuscates.
The bottom line is that 330,000 metric tons of cocoa, they have taken the money for that, they have not supplied. So now,
there should be
we must supply.
Prosecution.
But you see, when they were taking the money, they took the money in 2023. At the time, cocoa prices were lower. Today, cocoa prices have gone up. So if we are using cocoa today, we want to use the cocoa of today to go and pay for that cocoa that they did not supply. This year alone, Cocoa Board will lose $495 million. Last year, Cocoa Board lost $840 million. The cocoa farmer is the one being impoverished. So look at all these challenges. And on top of this, 55 projects stalled because government cannot service those loans we are using to finance the 55 projects, including KJTR Market Phase 2, Kumasi Inner City projects. All these projects, Efia Kwanta Hospital, all these projects halted. And yet John Mahama says, I'm scrapping 5 taxes. John Mahama says, on top of the 5 taxes I'm scrapping, this year I am undertaking a review of VAT. A review of VAT. I will scrap 3% VAT flat rate. I will increase the VAT threshold so that small and micro businesses will not pay VAT in Ghana, so that they can have a respite and develop. John Mahama says, I am reviewing VAT so that COVID levy this year, I will scrap it. In spite of all these challenges, John Mahama says we need to invest in education. Our children are our future. Without them, Ghana is sunk. Yet this government, the MPP, introduced a new curriculum, new syllabus. For 6 years, they did not provide the full complement of textbooks for our children. John Mahama, in this budget, in spite of these challenges, has allocated 564 million cedis to buy textbooks for KG, children at KG, children in primary school, children in JHS. 564 million. Akufo-Addo would have used that for a so-called swimming pool for God, even though God does not swim.
What are you mean the cathedral?
What
and
cathedral?
The expenditure?
That swimming pool, that manhole that they dug, is more than that money. We are using it to buy textbooks. Listen to me carefully. John Mama says that is not all. Today there are young people who cannot buy. They are menstruating, but they can't buy pass. Because do you know the price of one sanitary pad today? 20, 30, 40 cedis, depending on the brand. How many parents can afford that every month for their children? So sometimes these young girls don't go to school because they cannot buy sanitary pad. A government of empathy, a government that believes in people, says we will not. John Mama says that we won't use the money to charter ultra luxury private jets and enjoy like somebody was doing with Sewa Bruni. I will use 292 million cedis to buy sanitary pads and distribute it to primary, JHS, and SHS female students for free. 292 million. For free. He is not done. He comes to secondary level. He says secondary education is greatly challenged at the moment. Free SHS is good, but the implementation has been shambolic. It is undermining quality. It has led to double track and all that. And one main problem that has led to that is because there is no dedicated source of funding. Free SHS now, today we pick oil money small, today we pick this money. He said, no, we promise a dedicated source of funding. And that is what we must do. He uncaps Get Fund, makes available 4.1 billion. Free SHS, how much do you need for 2025? Only 3.5 billion. So the 4.1 billion we have gotten through the uncapping of Get Fund is enough to take care of free SHS. We have 6 billion left out of the 4.1 billion. What will he do with that? He says there are persons with disability, persons who can see, persons who have one disability, one form of disability or the other. For these people, we must encourage them. So every person with disability, obi awedi them, sebi, be awoko university, nursing training, teacher training, polytechnic, technical university. John Mama says go to school for free. From level 100 to level 400 or level 300. Go to school for free. I'm paying your school fees for you. Free tertiary education for all persons with disability. Unprecedented. When he promised to do this, MPP people said, oh, he can't do it. Dennis Miracles, Abuaje Bawumia, oh, Mahama will cancel free SHS. You remember? They sponsored adverts. Mahama will cancel free SHS. We said lies have a short lifespan. Today they have been exposed with X all over their faces, running for cover. Go and check their Facebook pages. They can talk. Because the Mahama
what do you mean by they can't talk on their Facebook pages?
They said will cancel free SHS is the one who has now created a dedicated source of funding for free SHS. You couldn't do it in 8 years. He has done it. In how many months? Less than 60 days in office. He has done it. Because we told you, they were telling us, where will you get money for no fee stress? Where will you get money? It is a lie. It is sakawa. It will not happen. Today we have allocated 500 million cedis for no fee stress, meaning that all new entrants, those who have graduated from SHS, entering public tertiary institutions, university, colleges of education, nursing training, technical universities, no academic fees for year one. So nobody has to stay home. I know children who passed their WASI, but because of the one-time bullet academic fee payments, they sat home. They couldn't go to school. John Mahama has allocated 500 million to pay that for them.
So that is for
a huge respite for parents.
The entry year.
Yes.
For the entry year.
Because that usually is a challenge.
So
until you pay, yes, until you pay that money, you are not a student.
All right.
But if your mama pays that money for you and you become a student, when you're progressing to year 2, year 3, the university can give you time to pay.
Well, Sami, let me ask.
Or you can even take a student loan to support your fees payment. But for year 1, Mahama is paying for you. So where are those who said that Mahama cannot do no fee stress? Where are those who said there is no money? We told you that there was money. It was all about priorities. They chose to use their money on CISMA celebration. One CISMA, they spent 150 billion OCDs.
What is 150? You mean 50 million?
Yes.
Okay.
But my grandmother...
Why do you like mentioning 150
billion? So that you can have a picture of the amount we are talking about. One day...
Not for populism.
They lined young children in the sun to march. They didn't even buy yogurt for them. When they finished the celebration, they went for lunch and dinner, spent 50 million cedis. Today, we are cutting down on all that waste. We are investing it in the future of our children.
Now, Sami, as part of the campaign promises of John Mahama was the constant promise across all the regions or the constituencies that he went, that he will give stipends to members of assemblies who are elected, assembly members, so to speak. And this has found allocation in the budget.
Yeah.
Okay. What's the incentive?
So when we sing,
what's the intention of this policy?
When we sing the song, "Oh, can obey you, oh, can obey you."
What's the intention of the policy?
Jeni, mama, mama, oh, can obey. That's what we mean. Assembly members are agents of development at the local level. They are like MPs at the local level. We, the NDC, we gave birth to the decentralization system we have today. We believe in decentralization. And if decentralization will work, then assembly members who are the key agents of development at the local level must be supported. They must be supported. These assembly members are left on their own to fend for themselves. So they are not able to play their roles effectively for their communities, for their electoral areas. If they have to go for assembly meetings, they have to go on their own. They have to find their own means of transportation. Okay, nobody is supporting them. John Mahama says, because we believe in decentralization. We want to take development to the doorsteps of every Ghanaian, in every nook and cranny of Ghana. Let's resource and strengthen assembly members with monthly allowances, 100 million. Do you know what Akufo-Addo and Ken Ofori-Atta would have used that money for? SML. They would have cooked a very nice, corrupt, shady deal, and they would have allocated this money for that. We are investing in decentralization. You get the point I'm talking about. So we are investing in education. Look at the investments we are making in job creation, and I'm so passionate about it. Passionate because I'm a young man, and I know that the biggest problem confronting the youth of this country is the problem of high unemployment. But what is the solution? Not everybody can do a white-collar job. And employment is not just about white-collar jobs. We must encourage people to go into vocational and technical, skilled jobs. And so we promise a national apprenticeship program where we are going to register young people with senior craftsmen to be trained in any vocational craft of their choice. Whether you want to be a plumber, you want to be a tiler, you want to be a tailor, you want to be a beautician, any craft you want to learn with your hand. Government will enroll you to go and study that with a senior craftsperson for free because government will pay the apprentice fee. And when you complete your training, government will give you startup capital and the tool sets,
that is what is called the
National Apprenticeship Program.
How's that different from what is implemented by the National Youth Employment?
It is totally different because they don't pay. We are paying the apprenticeship fee, and at the end of the day, we'll give you the equipment and the money to go and set up your own business. And we are doing it for thousands of people. We have allocated 300 million Ghana cedis for that. 300 million. Aside that, we promise a Jumewura program. A Jumewura program means identify young people who are establishing businesses, train them, mentor them, facilitate the registration of businesses for them, build their capacity, and track their businesses to make sure that the businesses are able to grow and employ at least 50 young people. So identify 10,000 young people every year, help them to establish businesses to employ a minimum of 50 each through training, capacity building, mentorship, and other facilitations. And we have allocated 100 million for this project this year. This is hope for young people. Hope for young people. Aside this, we promised the Coders program. We said that IT, digitalization, is the new vibe. And there are a lot of young people who have a passion to study coding, which is used for programming and all that. We want to identify them and train them in coding for free. People said we can do it, but we have done it. We have allocated 100 million. The program will be launched very soon.
Is there a secretariat that is going to implement it, or it's
no,
going
no,
to
it will be under the Ministry of Communications.
Under the Ministry of Communications.
Some judge is going to lead that.
Soon.
Coding. The coders program, we are doing that.
Right.
You understand? Then we promise our mothers, our sisters, the women, who are very entrepreneurial. Ghanaian women are very hardworking and entrepreneurial, very industrious. But sometimes somebody needs just 5,000 cedis, 2,000 cedis to start a business. And there is no help. The formal banking system is not able to help them. And the financial institutions, indigenous financial institutions, which used to come to their aid, like Amoaben's UT, like UT Bank, like Kwamnado Force Unibank, and all that, have all been collapsed by Akufo-Addo and Bawumia. So we promise to set up a women's development bank for them. We have allocated seed money of 51 million.
Yeah, I've seen
for the women. All these will lead to sustainable job creation. Not the NABCO kind of jobs. The responsive,
sustainable critical jobs. Question that has been asked is, you go by the banking laws of our country, you need a capitalization of 400. I'm sure you've seen and also heard this over the last 16 hours.
Don't even repeat it.
Yeah, I'm repeating
In the manifesto, we said the Women's Bank. We didn't say the Women's Bank. We didn't say.
What's your response to that?
Yeah, but Roland, we didn't say that the Women's Bank would be a commercial bank. We said it would be a special purpose bank.
So, which tier of the banking structure does it fall?
The Minister for Finance and the Governor of the Bank of Ghana will determine that. The most important thing is that you have an institution providing soft loans to women to do business. And one or no.
So it's not going to be a commercial bank?
I mean, the nomenclature is not important. Whether it's a commercial bank or not, we have set up, for the first time...
We have banking laws. Yes. And you're a lawyer, so you know that. So we have banking laws.
But the banking laws are even going to be changed. Haven't you heard?
No, I've heard that it hasn't been changed. We're talking about
the minimum capital for a bank is 400 million.
But I'm asking you, what's your direct response to the question that the banking laws of our country states clearly that you need the capitalization capped at 400. You have made an allocation of 51 million. Yeah. So how is that bank going to operate, and within which tier of the banking sector?
There are three answers to that. Number one, the 51 million is seed money. That is not the minimum capital of the institution. It is seed money. So the institution can leverage other sources. We said government will provide seed money. But there are institutions that are interested in supporting women, like the MasterCard Foundation and the World Bank and all that. So that the bank can leverage these other sources to increase the amount, to form their capital. So when you see seed money of 51 million, it is not exhaustive. It doesn't mean that that will be the entire capital of the bank. That's number one. Number two, assuming that was even the case, I'm saying that not all banks are the same. We used to have a bank in this country called Women's Bank, owned by Esther Okulu, the National Women's Bank. It was called a bank, but it was not a bank in the books of the Bank of Ghana. It was called a bank, but it was savings and loans. So when we say the Women's Bank is a special purpose bank, that is what we are talking about. Okay. And then my third answer to you is that even that minimum capital requirement of 400 million is going to change, because we have said that we can have a three-tier banking system. Not all banks require that minimum capital. Some institutions can be banks even with lesser capitals, like 100 million, 150 million, and all that.
Actually,
so
we
it
have
is totally premature.
Banking system.
It is totally premature to use the current commercial bank arrangement we have to say that, oh, we only allocated 51 million. The 51 million is not going to be the entire capital of the bank. It is only seed money. Okay.
All right, and your responses so far are eliciting a lot of responses on our social media platforms. We're grateful for those who have joined us as well. I'm seeing a couple of you, Samuel. I see Pearl, Aflapwe, Ni Odweyemo. Good morning to you as well, and all of you. Prince, Nana Yao, etc. Now let's deal with some 2 or 3 questions before we wrap up. Now, the concern that has been raised by one of our viewers, Fortunately Plim, says that, well, it is well and good to be saying all these. If corporates or actions or missions have been noticed in state institutions, there should be appropriate punishment. And so when are you starting prosecution for the agencies where you have seen that actions or missions have been undertaken?
Well, I know that at Cocoa Board there is an audit currently going on.
Okay.
The law enforcement agencies are doing their work. Yes, President Kufuor said one thing. Insution Fenipa.
Nadiana Fenipa.
Insution.
I see.
When you see those rivers, are they warm? Are they hot? Do you understand what I'm trying to tell you? So people should be rest assured. There will be accountability. There will certainly be accountability. Anybody who has looted public funds will face the full rigors of the law. I have the privilege of speaking with the president very often, and I know that that is something that he is not ready to renege on. It is a promise he intends to keep. Like he said, when he left office, he stayed in Ghana for 8 years. He didn't run from Ghana. And even though he had immunities, he subjected himself to the laws of this country. He was actually reported to the special prosecutor by the sitting president to be investigated. And he subjected himself to that process and came out squeaky clean. And therefore, he expects all other public officers to do same. Not only past government officials, but all of us. Because today we are serving in one office or the other. Tomorrow we may not be there. We must be ready to account for our stewardship.
All right.
And so I will be pained if the MPDC fails to fulfill that promise. But I know that John Dramani Mahama will deliver on that promise. But you see, aside these things, okay, I was very enthused to hear the investments that this budget is making in the real sector to create sustainable growth. Because all the things I've spoken about, the investments in education are good. The social interventions are good. The job creation initiatives are good. But there are certain important real sectors to our emerging economy which must be prioritized to propel sustainable growth. What are these sectors? Capital expenditure, infrastructure. And so I was so happy to hear the finance minister say that henceforth, the entire annual budget fund amount, we call it ABFA, that is the component of our oil revenue which is used to support the budget, will be used totally on infrastructural projects. We will not use oil money on consumption, on renting private jets and building so-called cathedrals would turn out to be, substandard swimming pools for God. We will use that for infrastructural projects, oil money. Then again, in this budget, it's a clear intention to invest 13.8 billion cedis into the big push. My God, this is what we needed. Because for a long time, we saw a government which favored consumption over investments in capital expenditure. And now we are having 13.8 billion. It means that we are going to see more roads, more schools, more hospitals. The abandoned projects, we are going to see the completion of many. And if you take our manifesto, you see a whole gamut of projects that we have listed under Big Push. At least, in spite of the challenges we are confronted with, the huge debt overhangs and humps, this year, we are committing 13.8 billion. Somebody said it was not possible. We are showing the way that it is possible. And that where there is a will, there is always a way. Then apart from this is ATA, Agriculture for Economic Transformation Agenda. That is where you have a cocoa kete. That is where you have grains development project. That is where you have vegetables development project. We are investing 1.5 billion in that to make sure that we grow what we eat and cut down on imports to strengthen the national currency. This is going to create a lot of jobs for young people in the area of agriculture. So look, there is a paradigm shift. The reset we promise is exactly what we are delivering. And President Mahama has demonstrated clearly that indeed there are still politicians of integrity who can be trusted. He is alive to his social contract with the people. He cares about the people and is ready to bring about the change and transformation we all yearn for.
Well, Sami, thank you for joining us this morning. Wish you all the best for the day as well, and also with the gold board. How's that shaping up?
We are done.
Is it structured same as Cocoa Board, and how is it?
Yeah, it's very similar. We were taxed to set it up in 60 days, in less than 60 days. We consulted stakeholders, worked with the technical committee. We have the bill ready. The bill has been approved by Cabinet. And as the Minister of Finance indicated yesterday in the budget statement, it will be laid before Parliament for consideration and approval in the next couple of weeks. Aside that, the Minister for Finance has provisioned $279 million CD equivalent for us as a revolving trade fund for gold purchases and exports as a strategy to stabilize the national currency and bring the dollar rate down. And I tell you, with the support of my minister and under the leadership of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, we will do that. Gold board will bring the dollar rate down so that businesses can breathe again and Ghanaians can experience some relief in terms of cost of living accounted
they had
for by higher
for
exchange
oil
rates.
program also all intended
And what did it lead
to
to?
make
Losses.
sure. And
losses
then
upon
also
losses.
the Bank of Ghana purchasing gold all to show up the currency.
Losses upon losses. And that is why today the Bank of Ghana says it is no longer going to do that. Losses upon losses. They were doing a good thing in a wrong policy environment. We want to do it the right way. And that is why we are laying before Parliament the legal framework for that, and all stakeholders have been consulted. They have all endorsed it. The Small Scale Miners Association of Ghana has endorsed it. The concerned small scale miners have endorsed it. The Chamber of Bullion Traders, the licensed exporters have endorsed it. The Jewelers Association of Ghana have also endorsed it. Then you have the Gold Dealers Association under PMMC also endorsing it. And by the way, Friday, we will be in Takwa for the last phase of our consultations. We'll be meeting miners there, again, just to sensitize them about this gold board and why we must all support it. Because if you check the budget, you will see that it is one of the topmost priorities of the government, aimed at providing, exchange rate stability and improving the economy for all of us.
All right, Sammy Gyamfi, thank you for passing through us this morning. And in time, we'll bring you back to the studio.
You're looking very fresh now.
Well, thank you.
Thanks to the new government.
I've always looked fresh, I think so.
Always look fresh, but and in the last 8 years, it's not been easy. I know.
Sammy Gyamfi. Well, so what in time, we'll bring you to talk about the football.
No, I'll be happy to come back to talk about gold board in great detail. Okay. I think that we should have that conversation immediately the bill is laid before Parliament. Okay, and that should be in a couple of, maybe in a week or two.
Well, Sammy Gyamfi is the MD for the gold board and
for the PMMC, which will be converted into
tax
gold
to
board.
set up the gold board.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
And you can get an upload of this conversation across our streams as well as social media platforms. TV3 Ghana, always go search for us, as well as 3 News. But in the meantime, we have to call it a morning. It's been your birthday, MF Tamaklo, and Chairman Godwin Tamaklo, your father and the rest of the family, including your mom, Alice, wish you all the best for the day. Sorry we can't bring you pictures, but we'll be able to do the draws at least 1 or 2 before we're able to go for... Oh, no, we're closing this morning. But please, join us same time tomorrow. Bye-bye.
I kept to them sometime.